we decided to leave her on the same amount that I had been previously feeding her. And I'm like, okay. It took a month. I say I noticed a difference within a month. And it was like a light bulb went off for Edie and for me. She finally, that incessant begging, I'm not going to say completely stopped by a month, but the difference was twofold. And then we'd take her in for a weigh-in, and then she was losing. So it was like, it was a miracle.
Welcome to the Call the Vet Show, the podcast that helps pet parents understand and optimize the health of their furry family so they can live the full and happy life you want for them. And here's your host, veterinarian Dr. Alex Avery.
Hello, and welcome back, my champion pet parents, to another episode of the Call the Vet Show. Really happy to have you along, and today we're talking about one of my passions. But before we get into that, if we've not met before, then my name is veterinarian Dr. Alex. I am the host here on this podcast, the Call the Vet Show. I'm also the founder of ourpetshealth.com, as well as being a vet in general practice. So really at the front line of the healthcare of my patients, my dog and cat patients primarily. And really this podcast is all about sharing my experience, my knowledge, as well as that of my expert guests with you, all with the end result, or hopefully the end result, being that your dog and cat lives the long and happy life that you want for them, and that you have a fantastic family environment and you really benefit from them being a part of your life as well. And so back to my passion. This month is Pet Obesity Awareness Month. And you'll know, and I kind of joke when I talk to all kinds of different people and about all different types of topics that affect our dogs and cats, that we always end up reverting back to, or at least mentioning the impact that obesity, carrying a little bit more body weight, and sometimes it only is a little bit more body weight. It doesn't need to be a huge amount to impact the health of your pet. And so something that I really strongly believe is the fact that keeping your dog, keeping your cat a healthy, lean body weight is the biggest thing that you can do to optimize their future health, their future happiness, and the future length of their life. It sounds very simple, but actually it can be incredibly challenging. The reasons behind the obesity epidemic that our pets are going through are really very complex. And what this means is that for many of us who find ourselves with overweight pets, and I'll let you in on a little secret here, it's that my cats have at times been carrying a bit too much weight for one reason or another. It can be very difficult to actually go through that weight loss program after you've recognized there's a problem. And clearly we need to recognize that there is a problem to instigate a plan to get our pets down to their ideal weight. But it can be really challenging. And so today I'm really excited to bring you a first-hand experience of one owner's recognition of a problem in their pet and the journey that they went through and the end result. So I'd love to introduce you to Kelly, and although you're not going to hear from Edie the pug, this is a journey all about Edie's weight loss experience.
Here's this episode's expert interview.
So basically for me, I've always had animals. When I was younger, I had horses, and then cats, and now dogs. So Edie is not my first dog. She's my first small dog and my first pug.
Yeah.
Before that, I had a golden retriever, and when we were growing up, we actually had a Doberman. So there were never any weight issues at that time. So with Edie, I got her as a puppy. And she seemed to always be a good weight. There was never an issue or one that was brought up to me about that. And it was after she was spayed that we started to notice, or I at least started to notice the difference in her demands for more food.
Yep.
And never being satisfied. I mean, no matter what I did, she wouldn't be satisfied. And of course, that spiraled into weight gain because it was a frustration for me as well, trying to figure out, I've got this dog and then she just constantly wants to eat and she's begging and she's scratching furniture and scratching carpets and barking at me and she wants to eat.
Yeah, and you don't want to deny, it's difficult to deny them, isn't it? Even if you're thinking, they're piling on the pounds, but you don't.
It's so much denying it. It was just the frustration on my part.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't get her to stop.
Yeah.
And I had thought, okay, so originally I thought I can do this myself. And logic tells you less food in equals less weight on. And I tried that, giving her less. Of course, that didn't work. And then I thought, okay, I will substitute or give her that feeling of more by giving her carrots, green beans, those type of things. So I would give her treats of those, or I would actually add it to her food to think that's an increase in volume and that would do the trick. It didn't do the trick, right? So this went on for some time. And of course, we go to the vet on a regular basis and my vet is seeing this increase in her weight. And I won't lie, it had been brought up a couple of times, not in great detail, but just kind of like, Edie's putting on a little bit of weight, right?
Yeah.
But my mind's still at that point. That was kind of the end of the conversation. It didn't go any further. And I thought, okay, I'll just keep trying what I'm trying, walk her more, play with her more. And then it just got to the point where this is crazy. So the last visit at my vet, I walked in and Edie was her biggest size ever. She was 14.4 kilograms. Huge.
That's pretty big.
That's it. And there's just no denying, for anybody, for me, for the vet. I think maybe the difference was I knew it and I was desperate for help. It had been mentioned briefly about possibly a change in her food could help. And this is what I couldn't comprehend. I couldn't comprehend how changing what she was eating would actually make a difference. But we were at that point, I'm like, give it to me. Let's just go for it. So we put her on the Royal Canin Satiety support. And we decided to leave her on the same amount that I had been previously feeding her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. It took a month. I say I noticed a difference within a month. And it was like a light bulb went off for Edie and for me. She finally, that incessant begging, I'm not going to say completely stopped by a month, but the difference was twofold. Yep. And then we'd take her in for a weigh-in, and then she was losing. So it was like, it was a miracle.
Because how long had you been kind of trying? And because I guess that's the difference there, is that a lot of people, they maybe don't realize and they're not putting active steps in place in those early stages, but you'd been trying for a long time. And
I have been trying, but I think the difference is, like I say, I thought I could do it on my own. And I thought what I was doing were all the right things. Feeding her less, exercising her more. Instead of giving her treats were like carrots and green beans. And that in my mind was like the right thing to do. So at that age, when we started, Edie would have been around 2 or just under 2 years of age. So once it kicked in for both of us, then it was just full on from there. We were like gangbusters. Yeah. So excited. So it takes time, right? Like, I mean, she didn't put that weight on overnight. And I continued on with my vet. We'd come in, and every time we would weigh her, and a couple times, like, we adjusted the amount of food because it was a trial and error thing, sort of thing, to see what she would do on. And it went from there. It took time. She finally made it to her goal weight. So she went from the 14.4 down to 9.4. And so she fluctuates between 9.4 and 9.6 sort of thing. And that was okay. So she was 2 years old when we started. Edie is 11 now, and she's maintained that weight.
Fantastic.
I think the biggest thing is that people have to realize when Edie did reach her goal, let me go back a bit. When Edie did reach her goal, funny enough, I was actually afraid, because I said to my vet, I was afraid that I was going to be told I'd have to take her off that food and put her back to what she had previously been on. And I said, then we're going to start this all over again. So she said, no, we'll leave her on the food she's on. We'll just adjust her amounts to a maintenance. And that took a little bit of time, not really much, to figure out what that level was. She's been on it ever since. So yeah, she's doing really well. So measuring. To this day, every single meal I feed my dogs, they're measured out.
How are you measuring those out, Kelly?
So there are two ways of doing it. There's one by scale, which is the real way you should be doing it. And in the beginning, that's what I did, right? I knew to the exact gram how much she was getting. And I'll be honest, right? Now I have a measuring cup, which is the exact amount. I don't scoop it like some people will scoop, right? No, I know right to the kibble how much I'm supposed to get. And I must be doing something right because she's maintained it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess you've got that history of having weighed out to begin with. And it's especially important, isn't it, when you're on that weight loss journey, because it doesn't take, especially for a small dog, it doesn't take many more kibble to actually be 10, 15% over what you're supposed to be feeding.
So I actually figured that out. For me to feed her only 10 extra kibble a day would equal to a full meal extra a week.
When you put it in those terms, you realize the significance.
And when I'm training or trying to do work with her, for treats, I don't have like treats per se. I actually use her same food for her treats. And then you just deduct from their meals that amount of treats that you've done, whether you're training or what have you with them. So it was an eye-opener. I try to tell a lot of people that ask me about it, like, don't take offense when the vet brings it up, if the vet brings it up. It's hard because it can be taken as being told something negative, but from the pet owner.
Yeah.
So your vet's saying, hey, your dog's overweight. It really needs, it weighs too much. It needs to lose weight. And I can truly feel like it's a reflection on you as a pet owner, that you're not doing the right thing, like there's something wrong with your dog. And yeah, that's a hard one. It's a hard one. But I realize the difference it's made in their life, health-wise, physically, the way she moves. And once you start seeing that, it's hard to go back.
Yeah. So did you realize that Edie was, or kind of looking back in hindsight, that she'd become a bit of a couch potato, or she just didn't have that joie de vivre, or, what kind of things because that's a third of her body weight that she lost.
So you mean activity-wise?
Or just in general, her demeanor, how happy she seemed, or, how she was interacting, what did you realize, the changes made?
Oh, definitely. She went from just like doing not wanting to do anything. Like, I mean, we would go for walks, but that type of thing. But it's like a light bulb went off and she looked brighter. She looked younger. She acted younger. She was running around. She could go further on walks. So that alone, most definitely.
And I guess, what I'm interested, because it's a difficult decision to have. You want to get that information across. From my point of view, I need to flag that there's a problem here, but you want to do it in a way that doesn't upset people. But at the same time, take it seriously and realize that there's this risk of diabetes and arthritis and all these kinds of horrible things. So I think often as things are going up, you maybe, you see them the first time, and I try and kind of flag the trends and say, look, there's no problem now, but we're looking like we're going up. So we need to, nip this in the bud now rather than wait until we do have a third of the body weight to lose. And you sow that seed, and then hopefully you get that engagement. But I guess your experience as well says that, okay, it'd be mentioned, but maybe the vet, they didn't want to push it because they didn't want to upset you. But then actually the action wasn't taken until, later than it, maybe could have been.
An extreme situation.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had exhausted all my, everything I wanted to try that I thought I could do. Another thing too is not so much what they weigh, is the body conditioning.
Yeah.
Of course, right? And I don't know if maybe that's something that is taken not as, I don't want to say offensive by the pet owner, but if you can show their shapes and understand that the way you feel them is another way. So maybe if you don't focus on the weight on the scale as the shape of the dog, how they should be.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, I guess, for the people listening, that's, we kind of body condition score, which is a marker. So there's lots of different ways. And in the past, we've used maybe breed standard weight charts, which are fairly useless because you've got smaller dogs within that breed and you've got bigger dogs within that breed. And we tend to just look at the top end of that, regardless of size. But we can, a big one is you should be feeling their ribs like you're feeling the bones on the back of your hand.
Yes. So the first time, my vet at the time, she just laughed, right? So Edie was sitting beside me on the couch and I was petting her and I went, oh, I could feel her like backbone. And I said, oh my gosh, maybe she's lost too much weight, right? And she started to laugh. She says, no, you're actually supposed to feel those bones, right? So that was funny. I think it's a progression, for me anyway. It was taking little bits at a time, but now it's easy to look back and say, okay, I did this and, this is what you should do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had to come to that point in time to just say, like, please help me because I don't know what to do here.
Yeah. Yeah. You had to go on that journey to have the realization of, hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, really my dog suffered because of that. But I guess thankfully I did do something about it, and here we are today, right?
Yeah. And you took a very proactive approach, and you asked for help. So I think for those people who are out there and thinking, well, my vet's not taking it seriously, or they've mentioned it, but they've not given me any help. Ask for that help.
I think you have to ask because I think that vets, from what I understand and from what I hear, is they are nervous about bringing it up and they don't want to push it. I know one time that there was a dog in the waiting room when I was there at the vet, and this was when Edie had already lost her weight, but we still always talked about it. And I think it was another pug, and they were surprised. Like, they looked at Edie and they say, oh, how is she, so slim, sort of thing, right? That's going, talk to them. Because I guess coming from another pet owner, pet parent, from one pet parent to another, it's different. I don't know why.
I think it's you understand what we're going through because you've been there, or you're not, and for some people it'll be, well, you're not trying to sell us, you're not just trying to sell us a service or this food or something, and you're doing this because, there's that financial incentive as well.
Okay, so you brought up a good subject there. So when it was suggested about Edie switching food, okay, the one thing was, like I said, I couldn't comprehend how a food could address something like that and help it. But to be honest with you, at the same time, I thought, well, is it a sales tactic?
Yeah.
Okay. And if that kind of went off in the back of my mind, you can imagine. And I realized that no, it's a prescription diet, and it's called a prescription diet for a reason. It's nutritionally balanced to address the concerns of that dog or pet that have health issues, and being obese is a health issue. So it addressed her needs to feel satisfied and helped her stop begging, and ultimately got her to lose the weight.
Yeah.
So no, my vet wasn't trying to just sell me something. They were trying to put me in the right direction to get her on what she needed. I guess any prescription, if she needed an antibiotic or, whatever else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We don't put healthy weighted dogs on diet food, or, we recommend the best nutrition that we believe. I think often, that's another journey that people have to go down, because just like you, the vast majority say, well, I'm just going to do this on the, I'm happy with the food that I'm feeding, and, my dog's maybe a bit fussy, or my cat's a bit fussy, and I don't want to switch, or whatever the reason. And we have to go through that journey of, okay, well, let's try that. Well, this is how much we'll feed, and then we come back and we have the revisits, and, either the begging has become just such a problem, and the weight's not moving. And then, there's that realization, okay, well, let's just try these, one of these diets. And we're lucky that there's a lot of different options out there. So that if there is a fussy dog, there is another option. And then, often we see that, that weight come off, pretty predictably if we're sticking to the plan. Did you have, Kelly, any input? Was it just the vet who you were dealing with, or was it the technicians or the nurses or the other staff in the clinic?
So the vet that I was dealing with at that time, I was with her for 15, 16 years until we moved here. It was just like a one-man band. So right. It was her and her vet technicians. So majority of the time it was dealing one-on-one with her.
Yeah. But
each and every time that I went in, she was weighed.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I strongly suggest that helped me is even when, well, now these times are a little bit different where you just can't walk into your vet's clinic, right?
Yeah, sure.
Is every opportunity now that you can get your pet weighed. And I don't know if you do it, but I can get printouts from the time we started to date of her weight.
Yeah.
And I can see the progression.
Yeah.
And really found that helpful. And it was encouraging because I'd go in and I'm thinking, oh, you know what? I think maybe she's gained weight. I don't know how she would have gained weight if I continued on what I was doing, but it was just that feeling, and then found out, oh no, she actually lost weight. So it was an encouragement for me as well. Yeah. I'm doing a good job. I'm doing the right thing. Keep on going.
Yeah.
So,
and it's a long old process, like you said, and having that record, but also having that support from the vet and the whole team, her team would have been really valuable as well.
Sure. Yes. Definitely.
So Edie has got a little sister now.
She does.
Have you done anything differently?
Well, I know much better now. But saying that, so pugs in general have a tendency to, well, they love their food, right? And I switched Edna over to, she was on a specific like pug breed food. And then I actually switched her over to satiety as well, just to keep her at a proper weight. And I think, I don't know, it just works really, really well for us anyway, and for my dog. So she's not have any weight issues.
And looking at the kind of the pictures of Zoomies and things like that she does, there's certainly no shortage of energy or any problems like that people might think, oh, well, hey, it's a weight loss diet. Isn't she a bit, energy deprived or something?
Oh, definitely not. This one, she's 3 years old, 3.5. And for a pug, she's like energy crazy. It's like, yeah, it's something. Edie. Yeah, now they're both starting here.
Hello, Edie.
And this is the crazy one.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, Kelly. Where can people go to learn more about Edie and Edna and all of the crazy stuff that they get up to at the moment?
Definitely. So you can find Edie and Edna on Twitter and Instagram at Edie the Pug. Our Facebook is at Miss Edie the Pug. And of course, we have our blog, and that's ilovemydogmorethanmykids.com. Which
I think is just like the most fantastic name. When I came across your blog, I was like, that's just brilliant. And it's true a lot of the time as well, isn't it?
It's crazy. Well, thank you so much, Alex, for having me. And, anytime if anyone wants to pop over and has any questions or further about what I went through with Edie, I'd be more than happy to speak to anybody about it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex.
Helping your pet live the happy, healthy life they deserve.
So I forgot at the end, we did actually hear from Edie and Edna, but what I really loved was Kelly's honesty and the reality of that weight loss journey, even with a highly motivated owner. But those efforts were really rewarded, and Edie is really healthy into her more senior years, which is really important because certainly pugs are prone to all kinds of different problems, but as are so many of our dogs, and obesity just makes things so much worse. It reduces the quality of an individual's life. It's one of the big three conditions that has the biggest impact on our dog and cat's health. So those three conditions are obesity, arthritis, and dental disease. So while you may think a little bit of fat, a little bit of chub is cute, it really isn't doing your pet any favors. And with over 60% of our pets being either overweight or obese, the chances are pretty good that your pet may be carrying a little bit too much weight. I'll leave links in the show notes to how you can determine whether your pet is overweight and does need to lose weight. But please, if you do have friends and family who you've noticed their pets are a little bit chunky, please forward this episode to them so that they could know that it is a realistic goal and the difference that it can make to their pet's life is absolutely huge. Remember too to hit that follow or subscribe button if you're not already. And until the next episode, I'm veterinarian Dr. Alex. This is the Call the Vet Show, because they're family.
That's it for this episode of the Call the Vet Show. Be sure to visit callthevet.org to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content. We'll see you next time.